Hi, I'm Glenn Whipp, the awards columnist for the Los Angeles Times. The Oscars happened last night. Birdman, the big winner. If you go by social media, Neil Patrick Harris, maybe not so much so. Joining me, film writer Rebecca Keegan, who is backstage. So you probably have a different perspective on the whole Neil Patrick Harris, because I'm assuming you've read the reviews.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear people talk about what really worked for the audience at home and what didn't. One thing that it sounds like really made people cringe was this joke that Neil Patrick Harris made about a woman's dress after she mentioned her son's suicide. Now, if you're backstage, what you see that you don't see at home is that there are people in headsets talking to Neil Patrick Harris, telling him, okay, here's your mark. There are winners and presenters coming back, air kissing. So he's not necessarily hearing her speech. So he comes tearing out, which probably seemed to him like a funny speech. And it landed like a thud, which is always the challenge of some kind of live event programming like this.
Sure, I'm sure, and he probably felt bad, like, you know, later on he heard, the speech, and maybe so the timing of the joke wasn't right. But I mean, I guess, for watching it, at home, or a lot of the bits, the running gag with the briefcase, a lot of puns, the jokes just didn't land last night.
That's what I heard. People seem to like the live performance numbers more than the written out banter. It was interesting too. I think one of the moments that seemed like it was going to work really well in rehearsal, and tell me how it worked when we were watching at home, was when Travolta and Idina Menzel come out together. And it seemed like it would be this really funny reveal after the year before Adele Dazeem moment. How did it play?
Well, it was great. Like, the initial joke and her saying, well, this is how he pronounces Benedict Cumberbatch, but then
Ben
they just
Affleck is Benedict Cumberbatch was, I think Neil Patrick Harris's joke about
then they just kept beating that note, or hitting that note again and again and again. It was kind of typical of the whole night, where you'd have a funny joke, but then they just couldn't leave it alone, and they just kind of kept going on with it. So I mean, but the initial reveal, but then even Travolta was catching a lot of heat on social media.
Face touching, all the
face touching, yes. But I mean, I think the one moment that I knew pre-show that was just going to be great, and it was, I think it was the best moment of the show, was John Legend and Common performing Glory. I mean, you saw as just standing ovation, which I expected, but then you saw like reaction from the audience. Chris Pine is actually crying.
Right. Yeah, they built the bridge, the Selma Bridge, on the stage. They have a massive choir backing the guys up. John Legend's voice sounded flawless. And of course, this is a film that people had been talking about in conjunction with the lack of diversity among the Oscar nominees. The Oscars So White hashtag. David Oyelowo had not been nominated for his performance as Martin Luther King Jr. So I think it was a moment that captured a lot going on in the zeitgeist, related to Ferguson, related to the world, that went well beyond the movie and the story that it was about.
And Oyelowo was there. It's kind of odd to see him coming up with Jennifer Aniston as presenter.
It's like, these are the people who didn't get nominated.
I know. It's kind of tacky a little bit.
Did you think so?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how that was.
There was no reason for them to be paired other than,
and the aw shucks.
Yeah, they should have been here, or they could have been here. So close, but not.
Right.
What? Yeah.
I mean, I felt like another moment that people really responded to was Patricia Arquette's kind of call to gender equality. She was very impassioned about it. And when she came backstage, a lot of people were clapping. You saw on camera Meryl Streep and Jennifer Lopez react really strongly. It's just interesting, don't you think, to see that?
It was amazing. I gave her an award at LA Film Critics, and she did the same thing, where she brings up her speech and she's reading it, and she has her glasses. So I thought, well, here she goes again, because we've heard her. But then she just launches into this really passionate, moving thing about gender equality, fair pay, and the reaction from Streep was just crazy. I mean, I loved it. Yeah, and did it play? And so when she came backstage, it was
she got a rousing applause when she came backstage, and it was interesting because a lot of the speeches were very political like that. Inarritu,
or personal too.
And personal. Inarritu, in accepting the Best Picture Oscar, talked a lot about being Mexican and the role for the Mexican government and also for Mexican immigrants in the U.S. I think it was all very moving, very interesting. I also think that's why it was hard with Neil Patrick Harris's sort of funny tone, because you had these really somber, heavy moments juxtaposed with puns and kind of wackiness.
Right. You don't know as a host or as producers how the live part of the show is going to go.
Right.
So, yeah, that's where they're at a disadvantage. Graham Moore, screenwriter for Imitation Game, very, moving speech, and the whole stay weird and revealing about past suicide.
Yeah, the second suicide reference of the night.
Yeah. Which it's pretty. It could be a downer, but the speeches themselves were so moving and so almost empowering. Like, I was at a dark place, but look where I am now. You can overcome this kind of thing. So,
but I think that shows that the Oscars are about a lot more than who wins the trophies. When you think about what we end up talking about and thinking about the next day, it's not so much who was holding the trophy we've talked about for months, but really what were those moments? And I
think a big part of that too, and that's very true. But then this Oscar, I mean, it comes at the end of just, so many award shows. And last night, not really that many surprises in the winners. So what you're left with is what they bring to their acceptance speeches. And I think we saw some really beautiful moments.
I agree.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this conversation. Please continue. We're pretty much, we're not done with the Oscars. We'll be writing more and more and more this week. So go to latimes.com. And thanks for watching.